Hey guys, today I have something that I have been meaning to talk about for a long time, and I told you guys I was going to talk about, and I'm ready to talk about. We are going to discuss why Transformers Rescue Bots is awesome. So, while most of us as Transformers fans are not any strangers to watching programming that isn't necessarily meant for us, like being accused of watching kids' shows, most of us, I don't think, really gravitate towards the really young shows like the 7 to 9 or younger shows. And there's a reason for that. Usually, shows like that are really bland and generic and very cutesy and really talk down to its audience. And so once you get past a certain age, it just no longer is entertaining to somebody who's older than like 9. But every once in a while, you get a show that is meant for that younger audience, but somehow is still very entertaining to a much wider group of people. And I would classify Rescue Bots as that type of show, and I think that it is definitely worth any Transformers fan to at least give this show a chance. Don't get me wrong, because when I first saw the trailer for that, I was like, psh, that looks stupid. It's like some Flash show. I could do a better Transformers show than that. There's no Decepticons. I had absolutely no interest in watching it at all. Like, I just did not care. And then one day I was watching one of Kal-El Prime's videos. I'm sure you all know who that is. And he was talking about some Transformers Prime episode. But at the end of his video, he was like, well, Transformers Prime is all well and good and all, but have you guys seen Rescue Bots? You have to watch Rescue Bots. And I was like, okay. If David says that it's good, maybe it's good. I don't know. And so I watched the first 2 episodes. And I was just like dumbfounded. Like, what did I just watch? I was just so confused. Like, the show had no business being as entertaining as it was. Like, I thought it was funny, I thought the characters were all pretty engaging, and then I was totally hooked after that. And that's what I'm saying, it's like you just have to give this show a chance. But in case you're still apprehensive, I will explain to you why it's awesome, and why you're not too cool of a person to watch this little kid show. So as a rundown of the overall plot of Rescue Bots for anybody who hasn't seen the show or doesn't know what it's about. It's the other Transformers show currently playing on the Hub, and it is meant for kids, I think from like 5 to 9 or something like that. And it's about this group of Rescue Bots, which is it seems to be a very specific type of Autobot group who were just kind of flying around space in stasis, and Optimus Prime, who may or may not be the same Optimus from Transformers Prime. Technically, if you go by the like aligned continuity thing, everything is the same. The message from Optimus is basically, if there's any Autobots left, come convene on Earth. And so the Rescue Bot team go and meet up with Optimus, and we realize that they've been in stasis for, it seems like, a really long time, because there's a point where one of them says, oh, well, I need to check with Autobot HQ on Cybertron, and we need to check on this, and Optimus is just like, oh, so guys, we can't go back to Cybertron, it's pretty much dead, and you need to live on Earth now. Which, that was the moment where I realized the show wasn't really going to be talking down that much, it was not going to be babying things, because in my opinion, that's a pretty dark way to start a show for 6-year-olds, like, oh hey, your planet's dead, but you can live here. And Optimus even says that they're probably the last group of Rescue Bots, which, again, when you think about it, that's pretty dark for a kid's show. Like, if they had any little Rescue Bot buddies, they're probably dead because of the war. It was like, well, that's one way to start a kid's show. But so what Optimus sets up for this group of Rescue Bots is he takes them to Griffin Rock, which is this island out in the ocean. But what he does is he teams them up with this family of rescue personnel who the father is the chief of police, and he already knew about Optimus and had spoken to Optimus about this before. And so each of the Rescue Bots gets teamed up with one of the members of that family. And I think that in the characters and in their relationships is where the show is the most successful and the most fun to watch. So first of all, on the Rescue Bot side, you have Heatwave. He's the leader, and he's very rough and tumble, but serious, and he does not like being on Earth. He doesn't like the humans. He doesn't like the fact that even though the family that they're living with, they're allowed to act like themselves around them, but to everyone else are supposed to just be these really advanced cars that can become robots that are rescue guys, but they're not actually supposed to let anyone else know that they're like sentient beings. And he's really not happy with that. And he's teamed up with, you know, the oldest son of the family, Cade, who he's really full of himself and thinks he's the best. He thinks that he's the leader of the group, and of course they just completely don't mix at the beginning, especially because Cade is super freaked out about the fact that he's like riding inside of like an alien, like his fire truck can talk back to him and argue with him, and their relationship is obviously like the most heated at the beginning. No pun intended, because they're the firefighters. And then we have Boulder and Graham, and Boulder is basically Transformers animated Bulkhead's little brother. You know, he's very curious about Earth. He thinks the humans are interesting. He is more accepting of the fact that this is now where they're going to live. And Boulder's teamed up with the second youngest son, Graham, who is an engineer, and their relationship actually isn't like super dynamic. They don't have a big issue between them. I think in the first episode, the biggest issue was that Graham thought that like he wasn't cool enough to talk to Boulder or something like that. He was like, oh no, I'm not interesting enough. And Boulder's like, oh no, he won't talk to me. So they have more of a miscommunication issue, which in reality, like that's another thing that kids growing up have to deal with. So it is a good lesson. And then you have Chase. Chase is the police car. He's kind of a monotone guy. He's very rule book oriented. He's kind of reminds me of like Prowl. And he's teamed up with the father of the family, Chief Burns, who obviously they don't really have any issues. Like the biggest issue that they have is that Chase is almost too much of a stickler for the rules. Say if anyone goes like 1 mile over the speed limit, he'll like want to go chase him down. And Chief Burns has to explain like, no, you know, sometimes we gotta be understanding of why people make mistakes. And so that makes their relationships interesting too. Chief Burns still does help Chase grow, even though, because Chase really is the one who has the least personal issues. Speaking of personal issues, then we come to the final rescue bot, and my personal favorite, like I love this guy so much, and that's Blades. He's just the best Transformers character right now for me. Like, he is my absolute favorite. And I think that Blades has by far one of the most interesting kind of internal personal issues at the beginning, is that he gets saddled basically with being a helicopter. And on Cybertron, since he was an Autobot, he was a ground vehicle. He was like a car or something. And when he finds out that he has to fly, you realize that he's afraid of heights. Like, imagine if you went from driving a car every day to having to drive a plane every day, but you were the plane. And to make matters even worse, he's paired up with the hot-headed, redhead, you know, daughter, the only girl in the family who's had to live her whole life, like, trying to keep up with these boys. So she's, you know, very aggressive, and like right at the beginning, they don't get along at all. Blades is really tentative, and he doesn't want to fly very fast or very high, and so she's like in this helicopter that's kind of like just barely hovering over the ground, and she's like, no, you have to go faster, and you have to go higher, and you need to do these things for me right now. And their relationship is the most about compromise. Like, Blades does need to get braver and, you know, be able to perform for Danny, who I don't think I mentioned her name before. Her name's Danny. So they can get their rescue missions done, but she also has to be more compassionate to him, and she needs to understand why he's afraid of being a helicopter. And I love their relationship.